Good evening and welcome to Thursdays with NAMI. My name is Peg Morrison. I'll be your host tonight. I am the Assistant Director of NAMI North Carolina. That's the National Alliance on Mental Illness North Carolina. And I am glad each and every one of you is here. Tonight, we will be talking with one of my favorite people, Dr. Sujaya, Dr. Sujayalakshmi Devarayasamudram. I tried. Thank you. She has such a warm smile and she's like a colorful, engaging person. She is a psychiatric nursing instructor at NC Central University. Quick plug for Central, they are consistently ranked as a top historically Black college or university and as a best regional university in the South, according to that report everyone reads in U.S. News and World Report. NAMI NC has lots of wonderful partnerships with Central, and we're glad for them, all of them, especially that one that led us to Dr. Sujaya. Dr. Sujaya, our esteemed guest, has over 40 years of teaching experience across the globe. She's always been a student of human behavior, both in and out of the classroom. She chose to focus on mental health in her career after a close friend completed suicide early on. How did that change her life? What did it lead to? We'll be finding out in just a few moments as she tells her story. As usual, the first part of our show will be an interview with our guest. About halfway through, we'll show a video of the week, and then we'll spend time with you, members of our virtual studio audience, live on Facebook and Zoom, and we'll look forward to taking your questions. Now we're going to have a quick word from our sponsors. Thursdays with NAMI is funded in part by the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Mental Health, Developmental Disabilities, and Substance Use Services through the Federal Community Mental Health Block Grant Fund. All right, I'm getting pretty good at that radio speed voice. And without any further ado, welcome Dr. Sujaya.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be with you all. It's
wonderful.
Thank you.
So we always like to hear a little bit about our guests, your background, what led you to this point tonight. So tell us about yourself in a nutshell.
Okay, that's a very personal question, and I would like to, share so that way I can connect to the audience.
Sounds great.
Sujayalakshmi Devarayasamudram. It's a long name, so people call me as Sujaya. In 2003, we moved to United States, North Carolina. So I moved along with my husband and my daughter. So we are living here since 2003. I come from a South Indian family. It's a traditional family. If you permit, I would like to share my grandparents and the people who are close associated with me.
That sounds great.
Are you able to see it?
Looks good. I see your screen.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Gary Kreitz, Peg Morrison, Ms. Gail Pruitt, and all other NAMI staff. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. You're all family for me. I'm so grateful. Ms. Pruitt has introduced me to many resources related to psych. And one of the greatest resources which I love and cherish is NAMI NC. I'm so grateful to Ms. Pruitt for that. And I want to thank Dr. Ahmad, our dean, and Dr. Vandrill. She is there in the audience. She is our chair, and always she encourages all of us in a lot of activities. Dr. Vandrill, I personally thank you so much for all your support. And my colleagues, my colleagues might have joined, like Ms. Lily Chen and so many other people, and my students, my family members and friends. So I want to share some of the pictures so that way you can connect. In an Indian saying, we call it as a Guru Brahma. That is, the teacher is like a creator. So she is Miss Khan. She is our principal. She lived up to 92 years.
Wow.
She is no more. I'm so grateful because of her. whatever, the leadership qualities or the, caring aspect, the dynamism, but all those things, many qualities, I got it from her. I'm so grateful to my guru, and I'm offering my pranams to her. She is a wonderful person, very caring person. So my grandparents and my parents. So you can see my grandmother, grandfather. By seeing this self, you can see they're very, very traditional. It's a Brahmin community. Iyer is one of the Tamil speaking people, and my mother and my father. So a lot of they have given me so much courage, so many virtues. I'm so grateful for my rich heritage.
So they look very serious. Is that a reflection of culture, the time, personality?
Yeah, it's they were mainly culture. You can see the typical the dress and other things. So those days, the pictures were not, camera, the pictures were not there much. We take and we, like the camera pen always, he tells like focus, But now it's like, even if you miss one picture, you can get another one. So we see and decide and we take it. We just, give this pose or be smiling. So now we can capture whatever feelings. Whereas there, during those days, it's a cultural factor. Other one is the instructions given by the photographer. They tell, look straight, look here, don't close your eyes, that kind of instructions.
Right. Even when I was young in the 70s, I can remember having to sit for a very long time for a photo. It wasn't, you're right, like today it's so spontaneous and candid, but what a beautiful family.
Thank you. And I have 5 brothers and 2 sisters, so 8 of us, and total 42 members. I didn't get that picture of all my family members. This is my family here, like my husband Shiva Prasad and my daughter Snigdha. So when we went to one of the country, Singapore, that time, we had this picture giving feeding to the tiger.
Oh my goodness, is that a cub?
Yes.
A tiger cub. He or she looks pretty big though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's fabulous.
So it shows how much I love animals. And our main hero, he's
that's
my daughter's dog.
And that's Romeo.
That's Romeo.
Oh, what a sweetheart.
Yeah, I love Romeo is my energy. Romeo is my inspiration.
What a very sweet face. I know what you mean, that unconditional love and that just that sweet friendship from an animal. It's very motivating.
His coat is very, shiny. Even the touch and the feel, gives me a lot of energy. And you can see my big family. So you can see Dr. Vandil and all of our students, Mr. Colin, Miss Chan, and my other faculty members. So this is Eagle Pride Amplified, our NCCU, Eagle Pride Amplified. This is our nursing building. It's a very beautiful building.
Nice.
A lot of resources. This is one of the pictures where students were taking white coat ceremony. So they're all my inspiration, my support system. So I want to introduce you to the NAMI about my support system.
Very nice.
Yeah.
What a good role model you are, including your support system in your introduction.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you for that. I love seeing that. I love the background, and it comes through how important family is to you and your work family. And the photos of your parents and your grandparents, wow, they're so beautiful, and I can definitely see the family resemblance and I don't know, just a rich culture there, a rich heritage. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And
studies, I have done my studies in India. After coming over here, I have done some fellowships like Duke and other places. So as you mentioned, I'm a lifelong learner. So enjoy learning. And my
Mm,
philosophy is live, let live, others. So enjoy the fullest, enjoy the process.
right. And that's something a lot of us have to learn is enjoy the process, enjoy the journey. It's so easy to get very focused on the goal and I have to get to that goal. I've got to reach that, whatever it is, that position, that point in my life that's so important. And then you just start losing track of today.
And give 100%. Whatever work you do, give your 100%
Hmm.
as a movement.
That's right. All right. Wise words. You've had a successful career in psychiatric nursing, and you mentioned recently that your career choice came out of the suicide of a close friend. Would you mind telling us about them?
Um,
See, our speaker is very popular, very much in demand, but she carved out her evening to share with us.
I'm sorry about, somebody is calling me. I'm sorry for that.
That's fine.
Just I wanted to, it's a very sad story. She's one of my close relative. So that time I was in a college when I was studying. She committed suicide. So I felt I could not help her, like whatever, I would have, I tried my best to help, but I could not. So, and when I, with my, that time, I was having psych mental health. So when I had my education, so I was thinking with little support, with little, um, analysis and assessment, we can save many lives. So I decided I need to take up that psych mental health course. And I was observing, majority of people, they like med surg, going to different other areas. Like I will go for neurology, cardiology, all those kind of things. But mental health, very few people choose. And the
Mhm.
stigma and fear, if I take up, I will become mental. That's what people used to talk. Hey, if you're taking that course, you will become a mentor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, people used to have that time. Very rarely, very few people were choosing that, specialty to work with those hospitals. People were scared that, mental patient, they will come and hit us and, it's not safe.
Mm,
Girls will not get married when they know that they're working in that place, all kinds of things. So there was a lot of stigma.
wow. That's a lot of blowback. So the first message was if you study mental illness, you might develop a mental illness. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
Good grief. And then your patients will attack you, in short, or it wouldn't be safe. And I guess this is a good time to remind folks that individuals who live with mental health conditions are no more likely to be violent than the average bear. We are more likely to be the victim of a crime, of a violent crime. So a lot of sad misunderstandings. I guess I'll say it that way. But I'm so glad. It's wonderful that you followed your heart and went with that path anyways.
And I believe like body, mind, it's equal. We are giving so much importance to the body. Mind also equally plays the same role. A healthy mind, healthy body, both are required for a successful life.
Right.
Equal importance, equal weightage. Maybe I may give more to my, mental health than to the physical. I may be wrong with that, but I love mental health.
Hmm. Right. It does seem like there used to be a very strict line, like here's your mental health in this box and here's your physical health, your body in this box. I feel like more and more people do see the connection. Um, we still have room to grow in that area though, I think.
Yeah, we cannot separate them. They are interlinked.
Right.
Majority of time we separate. For example,
Yeah.
you take how much time you're spending on to your physical health. you exercises, eating food, all that kind of things. What about your mental health, related ones? How much time you are spending on that?
Good question. Yeah. How much time are we spending on self-care? And how many people know that they should have mental health care on their agenda? We all know that we should eat a certain way. We need to move. We need to exercise, get out and walk the dog. But I don't think as many people have that awareness or have a toolkit for taking care of their mind, their body, mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you specialize in community mental health nursing. What does that mean? And what have you learned from doing that?
As I said, I studied in India. So India, where nursing is more generalist.
Mm-hmm.
So as a community health nurse, if I visit a family, I may come across a mother, with a postnatal depression, or maybe a child who is having anxiety disorder, maybe a mental health person. So as a community health nurse, I need to know about all aspects of nursing.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to be trained in that aspect, mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And as I mentioned earlier, like stigma is a big barrier to seek support for mental health. If I tell them, hey, you go and get vaccination, they take it. But if I tell your child, behavior needs to, need to counseling, people don't accept. There is a big drawback and stigma is there.
That is true. And I think even today, with parents being more aware, there's still a reaction of taking it personally, like, no, that can't be my child. Yeah, it is quite a difference. So you've also shared with me the importance of listening, some of these very basic skills that can be helpful in everyday mental health and with someone who's in distress in particular, the importance of listening and really honoring the feeling component of a person's experience. Tell us about that and why it's important.
Yeah. No, listening is very important. Like we call it as a therapeutic communication. One of the aspect is good listening. Many times we hear, but we are not listening. There is an active listening component is required. If we are listening actively, we develop the connection.
Right.
We gain the confidence. Many times, like people want somebody to listen and pay attention to their aspects. Even in Indian philosophy, lot of information, problems can be solved by mere listening. Like sometimes my daughter tells me, Mama, I don't want any advice. I want you to listen to me. By listening, we can solve many things. We can help the person. We can support the person. Depending on the need, we can take care. So it reduces a lot of misunderstanding also if somebody is listening. So we can eliminate if there is any conflict.
Right.
So be eliminated. Even we can encourage a lot of empathy. We can show the empathy, those aspects. So active listening is the key to successful life.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it can be professional, personal, any life, and any relationship, whether personal or maybe relationship in the professional aspects, team building, everywhere. Human behavior, the first skill people need to know is listening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you made so many good points there. And in a NAMI class, you could learn about active listening or its cousin, reflective listening. With active listening, you're kind of paraphrasing what the person said back to them so that they hear you and it clicks. Okay, they really got what I said. And reflective listening is where we sort of hold up a mirror on the emotional part of their statement. You sound really upset. I can tell how important your family is to you, that kind of thing. And in both those examples or those types of listening, the person registers like, okay, I'm hearing it back to me, not exactly in my words, but very close. And it registers, I now feel heard. And you made a comment about how we can have empathy and listening as a way of communicating better and not avoiding conflict, but kind of building our relationships on a better foundation. Because if I'm listening every day, we're not going to end up in a situation where, okay, on day one, my feelings were a little bit hurt. On day two, I got offended again. On day three, it kind of helps us just that open communication. We can keep our relationship current and healthy day by day.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And, many good relationships. People who are good listeners, they're very successful in all kinds of relationships.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
many times we tell if there is a conflict, we tell, oh, I didn't hear that. I didn't listen to that because they didn't pay attention.
Mm,
And, problems may arise.
absolutely. And you want to honor people's experience. We all get stressed. We all have times where we're not listening very well. But I think you're right that it's a foundational skill that you can build on in so many directions that will help you find success in so many directions. What advice you teach a lot of young people, and I know the typical college age, early adulthood, early 20s.
Mhm.
That's when some serious mental illnesses will manifest. There's also a lot of folks just leaving home and finding independence for the first time. So you're going to have some mental health challenges. That's normal. What advice do you have for the young people in your class who are struggling in that way?
Yeah, mental health is very important in college, students, because they leave their environment, they come to a new environment. So they face a lot of challenges, from the high school level to college when they come, different types of learning, especially when they come to professional, courses like nursing, medicine, and other. Their, the learning strategies should be different, the timings, and, the stress levels will be so much. They'll be exposed to a lot of, cultural adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes if they're living in dorms, the food adjustments, or sometimes if they're commuting, transportation, if they're working, work-life balance. So there are so many types of problems will be there.
Mm-hmm.
I tell this thing like, know your like actual self and ideal self. Like, for example, if they're in high school, they were getting all A's, whereas when college, it may be different. So they want to get A's, but it may not be feasible with all the circumstances, with the work-life balance and, the type of learning and other things. So let them know the actual self and ideal self. So they have to adjust that.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to, seek support,
Mm-hmm.
develop their support system. When I started, I showed my support system, my, colleagues, my family, and my, heritage, all those aspects. So support system is very much needed. Use the resources, and they need to analyze, am I having the problem? Analyze, first is analyze, accept, and take action.
Mm-hmm.
They may think, okay, before the test comes, okay, I may be failing, this test may be difficult. So unless they face the problem, they have to analyze their situation, seek support, and work it out. Then, you are not alone, so seek support.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Analyze, accept, take action. All right. It does ring a bell with me, my first year away from home, realizing how much harder I would have to work for good grades. That was a shock.
Sometimes grades are not the only one. So as I mentioned, I tell my students, so enjoy the process. Don't see only the paper, like A grade, or maybe I get the degree. So you need to carry the memories.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. And college years can be so special. So and in any era of your life, I guess you want to balance your quality of life with that drive to meet the goals. You don't want to, if you jump on one and neglect another section of life, you might regret it. It's all a balancing act, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Wise words. So what cultural barriers to mental health care do you see? And how can we help more people in North Carolina get help, especially those without much income?
It's a great question. Culture and health, especially mental health, plays a major role. And you talked about, you know, income, access to the healthcare or the insurance and those aspects.
Mm-hmm.
Already for mental health, stigma is a big barrier.
Right.
Other one is like they need to accept that they have the problem. If there is a physical problem, they can see it, or if there is an injury, they can see it. Whereas mental health is more feelings. Once the feeling is there, they need to accept, yes, I have the problem.
Mm-hmm.
They need to have the resources. So lack of resources, lack of insurance, lack of support system, and stigma, all these things plays a major role for not seeking. And the priorities also alters. Like for example, if somebody is not happy, they can walk around and do things until unless it's a severe stage of depression. Like for example, if you have a pain in the legs or something, you go immediately seek some medicine or take care.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas until unless it becomes very severe in mental illness, when they cannot come out of the home or do something, then only they will be worried about those things.
Right.
And just I want to give an example. We are going to have like triangle area temples along with the physicians, like triangle Indian physicians. They're going to have a health fair. The health for everybody who are not having insurances. So when there are this kind of health fairs,
Right.
so more and more is needed. Even in our NCCU, we had a health fair recently with Alzheimer's Association. So wherever there is a possibility, have those grants and try to conduct. Nurses were taking lead in conducting those, like Indian American nurses. So we do a lot of health fairs. There are many organizations in the churches and other places. So my point is, conduct those health fairs,
Mm-hmm.
give them the education. Hey, these resources are available.
Right.
Let people help them. So that's one way of doing it.
That's a really good resource that doesn't get mentioned as often here on the show, that churches, colleges, schools, companies, your employer, so many of these organizations have health fairs to bring professionals and resources right to your back door, literally. So you can talk to people, you can get information. It's not even out of your way. You can also call the NAMI North Carolina helpline between 8:30 and 5, Monday through Friday. And our helpline manager, Virginia, has this enormous textbook full of resources. She'll say, what county do you live in? And she'll tell you what's available near you. As you were talking too about cultural barriers and what helps, it kind of occurred to me that when I have a pain in my leg or my back, I have the language to describe it. I have a muscle spasm. I feel, a burning sensation in my calf. When it comes to mental health, for some reason, the language it doesn't come to me as naturally. And that's, I'm an English speaker.
That's true. And people use different terms, like culturally,
Mm-hmm.
they use different things. And other aspect is how they view about the illness, like what is the cause for the illness? What do they mean by the health?
Right.
Health and wellness, that differs from culture to culture. What kind of resources they seek, where they go. Sometimes they may go to magical religious practitioners, or sometimes they may do their own home remedies.
Right.
Yeah, there are different kind. So
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Maybe I'll go to my church, my temple, my mosque, or maybe I'll read up and see what I can do at home, especially if insurance is a problem. So there are so many different ways. And you made a really interesting point about what is the definition of health.
Yeah.
I feel like in the United States, we have this bar where we expect ourselves to be happy every day. Like, oh, I'm so grateful and I'm winning and everything is good. And even if it's not, I'm going to say it is because then I'll look better to my friends or whatever. And I get the feeling that that's not, you don't have that approach in other cultures, which would kind of take the pressure off.
Yeah. And many resources are there, like in North Carolina Central, we have like women's awareness. So they have a big health fair coming up. So those who cannot have their mammograms and other things, so if they fill up those things and if they are qualified, they can come and have their free mammograms.
Free mammograms.
Yeah, this kind of resources has to be shared. Even there are so many, like a Lincoln community, they conduct many of the health fairs. So it can be done in different organizations. The problem is sometimes people don't have the transportation.
Right.
So that's the main thing. So transportation also is needed to, some volunteers can take care of that. So transportation is the big one. Many people cannot go because they may be knowing, but they cannot go because of that. So transportation is one of the important aspects.
Yeah, really good point. Transportation. And public transportation is available in many places, probably not if you're in a rural area.
Yeah.
And even if you are in Raleigh or Charlotte, it's quite time consuming to take the bus. I have a brother in Cleveland who takes the bus a great deal, and it's an effort. I mean, it's a journey every time. So you are the president, along with all of your other honors and activities, of the Indian American Nurses Association, North Carolina. Tell us about that organization and what y'all do.
Yeah, just I want to share my screen for that. And before I move on to this question, so I want to share the cultural aspect, because some of the parents who come from India and other parts of the world, they come and visit their children, so they may not have the insurance. The children are busy with their own job and other things. So parents want to go and have health checkups and other things, but they don't have transportation.
Right.
And they may not be able to go on their own. Again, cultural aspect, to tell you, when we joined and when I came to US, that time I traveled in the bus. So many of my community members, they were telling, oh, you are traveling in bus alone? How can you do that? It was a big thing. So
oh, really?
many women, like, they don't do on their own.
That's true. Yeah, and that does vary a lot by culture, doesn't it?
Are you able to see it?
I am.
Okay. So the mission of this organization, our organization, is mainly, people who are living in North Carolina who have Indian heritage. So we are creating a community of excellence through the nursing for their professional development and networking. And our vision is to promote professional excellence in nursing practice and healthcare. So we want to empower our, nursing community. They have to, be empowered and culturally identify all of the nurses and nursing students of Indian origin to optimize their contribution to the health and well-being of the, individuals, families, and other communities. So we want to empower them so that they can optimize their aspects. So regarding the goals, we have many goals. So for this, some of the goals, like being in my professional leadership, I use the acronym CARES. So I love that. Okay. C stands for community engagement. So
Mm.
projects like education, like health fairs, webinars, distribution of different type of drives like blankets, clothes, hygiene products, and also community engagement. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we want to advocate our new students and graduates. So we want to provide mentorship for them. Many people, even though they have a lot of experience, they may be coming from another state or another country. So then they're new to this. So we want to give them enough support and we are providing mentors for them. Or for research. Any profession research is very much needed. So we have to take part in all kinds of research activities, especially during COVID time. We have worked in different projects like
Mm.
quality improvement projects in the hospitals. Other alphabet is E. E is empowerment. So we want to empower our community members, nurses, staff, everyone about their, resources and those aspects. Last one is sharing. Sharing is by sharing our success stories.
Oh, great.
So this cares is the, main goal for this one. And some of the pictures we are showing like, see the caring projects. Many times
Mm.
you see like you give your book bags, socks, those kind of things. So if you see here, this is for their, aromatherapy, as a mental health person. So I emphasize on those aspects,
I love that.
those things. And you may see some other things like, food. So we work with the firefighters and different organizations sharing, resources.
Hmm. So I see those familiar food containers. Did you cook for the firefighters?
And you see all the, products.
Ah,
This is in front of my house. I was, organizing and doing it. So when community members, see, pass by, they see what's going on. Are you having a yard sale? I said, no, not yet. It's a community, resources I'm collecting. If you have something, can kindly share. So,
oh, that's wonderful.
after seeing this, so they started, bringing things and giving to me.
Mm.
One way of, getting things. It's so you may be seeing this kind of, food items.
Mm.
Culturally, share the culture.
Looks delicious.
And one time, people from, like solar panel people, when they came, I served the food like this. I encourage them to, eat.
Were they trying to sell you solar panels?
No, they were doing some solar panels on the house. So I want
Okay,
to eat in the form of, culturally appropriate, way.
nice. It looks delicious and it's so pretty.
Yeah, just I want to tell you, this banana leaf is grown in my garden. It's fresh and,
Wow,
all these vegetables, they're grown in my garden, some of them.
my goodness.
Food is done by, like I cook this food. So I'm ready to, share my resources.
Oh, that's a wonderful photo. I
Because,
love that.
because of COVID, we have to be precautious when you're serving the food, like individually packed. So that way you're taking care of that.
That photo just captures you. You've got your lovely dress on, you've got that smile and pretty earrings and just a big old tray of healthy homemade food that you're sharing with other people. And all of this ties to mental health. It might not jump out and yell mental health at you, but if we eat properly, we feel better. If our nutrition is good, we feel better. If we garden, we feel better.
And when there is a connection between food and the mental health.
Mm-hmm.
When you smell something, just I want to give an example. Like one of my, when I made a special kind of food, it's called upma. So when the person ate, he said, I'm remembering my mother's food. She is no more, but I'm making the connection with my mother.
Oh,
It was so awesome. I felt so happy after 20 years. I'm able to eat that. I said, my God, that's I'm able to bring back those kind of happy memories, not the sad memories. And
yeah.
somebody may tell, like, okay, the tea what you have given, I tasted when I went for a tour, so it bring back some kind of memories. So it's like
Mhm.
but mental health, related to that, happiness, those aspects.
That's powerful. And for those of us who live with depression, like I do, the more we can focus on and savor and put our energy towards these good moments, connections, memories of food, nostalgia, the more we're rewiring our neurotransmitters. I'm not saying that correctly, I know it, but we're moving our brain in the right direction and undoing some of those ruts that depression causes us to have.
Yeah.
So wonderful. So our next question, you've kind of covered this. I was going to ask you about your food. I hear more and more folks expressing anxiety about climate change, the war in Ukraine, the divisiveness here in the United States when it comes to certain topics. How do these world events impact mental health? What can we do?
Yeah, it's really impacting so much. It's a great question. And you see, when we heard about Ukraine, they're occupying. So many of us were hearing that, my husband was listening to all kinds of stories. So I tell him, hey, stop. It's too much information. So,
Mhm.
world war will be there. So all the gas prices have increased. We get a lot of supplies from, some of these countries, like food grains, like wheat and other things. That prices have gone up, and
Right.
people are scared. And after the Afghan war and other things, there are so many refugees. I work with an organization, so we go and do refugee homes. I do refugee camps, for them. We do a lot of resources. So I
Mm.
see how much they suffer with mental health, because they're leaving all their families, their property, everything. So when they come to a new place, they have to start from scratch. They don't have their own resources. They don't know the language. So everything changes. So it's
Mm.
really having a great impact.
Right.
And post-traumatic trauma, PTSD, anxiety, depression. They don't have resources. They don't have the income, language barrier. Even look at their self. They may be, very high professionals and maybe leading a comfortable life. Here, they don't have bare minimum resources.
Right. That's, yeah. So many people are directly impacted, millions of people by this being displaced. And even someone with really solid mental health will end up with a problem. If you end up homeless, you end up in a new country where you're powerless because there's a language barrier. Maybe you don't know anybody. And I know, maybe have a degree and I'm certified or licensed as an engineer or a doctor in another country, but if I move, that will not travel with me necessarily. So yeah, then you're starting from scratch on so many levels.
Yeah. Even when they come as a refugee, they may not carry all their, certificates and other things. That's
Mm.
it. And it's impacting. Your question is how it's impacting us. Definitely, our morale, uncertainty of the world changes, uncertainty of the climate, climate change, a lot of climate change is, it's impacting so much. You know, uh, it's impacting on our health, like physical health as well as mental health. Just I want to share some examples. Recently, Bangalore is one of the city where they have that little bit slopes and other things. I was surprised to see some of the pictures. There was flooded. The high, so many houses were flooded. Chennai,
Mm.
so many houses were flooded because of the climate change. The
Mm.
rains were, the monsoons. It has affected so much.
And that's in Bangalore, you said?
Bangalore, one of my like my home city.
Oh
It
my.
was really, very saddening. And when
Sure.
these floods and other things, they bring other diseases like diarrheal and cholera, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
Then again, it affects on those mental health, like physical health affects on the mental health. So when you see
Mm-hmm.
all these things, when you read on the news, uncertainty, it impacts on all of us. The,
Right.
the fear.
Right.
Mhm.
And that word you've mentioned a couple times, uncertainty, it really does resonate through all of these world events, that it feels like the ground under our feet is just not as solid anymore. There's a comedian, Amy Poehler, who makes a joke. The world's falling apart and nobody's in charge. And I was half laughing and half like clutching my stomach, because that is kind of how it feels sometimes.
Even the effect of COVID, now monkeypox,
Right.
yeah, it affects so much on all of us in all angles of life.
Right.
So we cannot go out and have that kind, if it's too hot weather, you want to do exercise, you want to have party, you may not be able to do it. So that affects on your social, you know, emotional health, social aspects of the health. Sometimes you won't be
Exactly.
able to work that well. So again, your economy, your financial health. So it impacts all this climate change, these wars, all those aspects.
Exactly. And how do I plan, and how do I know what to expect? And then how do I feel any sense of control? Yeah, a lot of difficulties, a lot of challenges. So on that cheerful note, I think we're going to pivot away from the interview portion of the show, but we've got a lot of wonderful, uplifting messages coming up soon afterwards. Before I show our video of the week, I want to give a big shout out to our helpers working behind the scenes, our Thursdays with NAMI Angels, App State social work intern Caitlin Rita, and psychiatric nurse Gail Pruitt on Facebook and chat. Thank you so much. And of course, our biggest shout out to Dr. Sujaya for spending your evening with us. We appreciate your time and all that you bring to the table. All right, so now we've got our video of the week. Before we know it, it will be election day. So we can take action on these discussions we've been having that make us feel helpless. We can take action. So now I'm pivoting to an empowering note. That feels so much better, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And we've got a video from our National NAMI office to help us get motivated. Be sure to check the Zoom chat or Facebook comments for specific information on how to get involved. All right. I have to say, I love the music in that video. And if you're going to vote for mental health, or you feel the urge to take action, one wonderful issue that you can focus on is Medicaid expansion in North Carolina. We've got information in the chat and in the Facebook Live comment section on how to get involved and advocate for for Medicaid expansion. And there's just nothing more important you could do to help out at this time as far as that goes. All right, now we've got time for questions, and I see, well, there were a couple in there. We did have some wonderful questions lined up. If you are new to Zoom, you want to click on the Q&A icon and we will answer your questions. They'll be delivered to us as soon as you type them. On Facebook, please type your comment in the comment box, and Gail will make sure that we get it here on Zoom. had a question that we didn't quite get to before we switch to our video of the week. What gives you hope?
You know, as human beings, we born, so we have full of life. God has given so much of virtues, and so I believe in hope is a hope is like for a better life and better health. I never think of the other way. I'm a very positive person. Always I think of, I see only the good pictures everywhere. I don't feel any answer, like uncertainty, or there is not hope, nothing. So I can do it. I will do it. I'm doing it. Yeah.
It sounds like it's just a natural function of who you are and how you are. Yeah. I will say too, for myself, when I'm focused on other people and trying to be helpful to others, hope springs naturally from that. And it makes sense to me that your answer is what it is, because you are very service oriented and you seem to be reaching out to others and sharing information and sharing food and resources with other folks, doing service. So they've actually done studies. I read this on Google, which is never wrong, about how serving other people, doing volunteer works releases the body's natural morphine, and it gives you a high, like exercise or whatever. So it's a good addiction to have, I think.
Yeah. Just I want to mention, caring is in a different ways. Give your time, like listening. If somebody calls, just listen, and resources. There are so many resources, like you can share. Being in a nursing profession, being in education, I can do a lot of different ways of caring. Not only the physical aspects. I focus on, if somebody wants to learn something, take example of a monkeypox. Like they don't know what it is. So that gives a lot of anxiety. So once they know the information, that relieves a lot of stress, and anxiety levels are reduced. Sharing the information, sharing the resources, take the people, like transportation.
Yeah, well, I always loved that old saying, knowledge is power. And it's true. The more I can understand, the less afraid I feel. Yeah. So did you always know you wanted to be a nurse?
To tell you honestly, like when I started, I wanted to be in medical profession. I wanted to be a doctor. So my circumstances didn't permit me to be a doctor. I want to be like, I came to nursing, and I reached to the doctorate level. My mother wanted me to see like a doctorate, to doctor. So I did my PhD and completed. So I became a doctorate.
In computer?
No, like PhD in nursing.
Gotcha. Okay. I misunderstood something. That's what I thought. And you have many, many master's degrees.
Yeah, I have. So, in those days, like 70, I graduated in 79. Like in India at that time, we need to have minimum 2 years of experience before we go to masters. Instead of, waiting. So I started doing my sociology degree. Like I was doing all these degrees in a private way. I was studying and learning, those things like privately. So, and my nursing made me to think in a different way, like why the person behaves, what are the psychological, ways, or sociological or anthropological. So all this made me to, go in. So I had that aim. So I studied. I did my master's in psychology, social anthropology, public administration, philosophy in nursing. So I was widening myself and seeing a person in a holistic way in different angles.
It sounds like you could hold every role in a nursing school and be like a one-person nursing school.
That's why, I may be generalist, but I have my own specialty. like in mental health and, geriatrics. So I have
Mhm.
I'm able to fit in wherever there is a need. My strong strength is I never say no to anything. In the sense, if my dean asks me, "Hey, can you teach this?" I try out. I find out my resources and work it out. If I cannot do it, after working out, then I can tell them. So before that, I will not tell, no, I don't have this experience. I gain the experience through work, but I tell them, hey, I have limited, but I'm going to do it. So, many times I think like there are 4 wheels in the car. So always they're valid, but the wheel, which you leave it in the, trunk, when there is a damage to any of the wheels, that's the one which is needed.
Hmm.
Can fit in front wheel, back wheel, wherever it is. I'm like that wheel.
Oh, okay. So
Capable of fitting into any of those wheels.
you can plug in and make things move.
Move on. Then the vehicle is functioning. So my earlier experiences, it helped me.
Gotcha.
Different courses. And my
So
mental health also helped me to be more gentlest. So the eagerness, learning, inquisitiveness helped me to learn like whatever is needed. So I'm not afraid to take up anything. Like recently the monkeypox has come. So I said, hey, I need to really learn. So today they were asking I had a presentation just before, so they were asking some questions. So I said, one question, whether the person can get monkeypox again, reinfection can occur. So
right.
I didn't read much on that. So I said, I will find out and, next time, I learned. So each time when you present, you learn some things, but there should be somewhere the base is needed. You need to have the confidence to face that challenge.
Sure. To take a new leap. I like that.
Yeah.
We have a question from Facebook, and I'm just going to read it the way it's written. What are your thoughts about electric shock treatments, especially for schizophrenia? I have heard so many different stories.
Yeah. I've seen in ECT, therapy, when I was working in different countries, they were using it more, so much widely they were using it. So, it looks very, I'm sharing my personal, belief. I've seen the person's behavior has changed so much after, the treatment.
Mm-hmm.
This is very, it's very inhuman. Process is very painful and, but the person has improved and there's a lot of improvement is there. So for example, when you're taking a pill, sometimes maybe bitter, but we have to swallow it. It has the effect. So there is a therapeutic effect. There is maybe adverse effect. You have to weigh the pros and cons depending on the scenario.
Mm-hmm.
The therapy, it's one of the therapy.
Right.
If other therapies are failing, this is the best thing. If somebody is committing suicide, like sometimes they may not be able to administer medication. So ECT is the therapy. You have to give that.
Sure.
Yeah.
We did have a guest on the show who had experienced ECT, which stands for Electroconvulsive Therapy, which is another way of referring to this treatment. And her experience was very positive, that nothing else worked. She was having a lot of suicidal ideation and depression. And I think they use a sedative, and the electrical current is not as high as it used to be. So her experience was very positive. Yeah.
With the modern this thing, they're specially trained people, so they good observation, good recovery, all this kind of things, they manage so well.
Yeah. So thank you for that question. I hope it helps. And yeah, that is considered a last resort or a controversial treatment, but I have heard good things when nothing else works.
Yeah, when nothing else works, or depending on the scenario, as you said about suicide,
Mm-hmm.
if the person is not able to, tolerate the medicines.
Yeah. Do you have a story that kind of warms your heart when you think back on your career? Something that you would like to share with us?
Yes. When I was, that time I was young and I was in India, you know, um, as a nursing faculty, we have an opportunity to take up other things like NSS, NCC, National Cadet Corps, and National Social Service. So as nurses, we can go and not only like working in the hospitals, we can go to the community. So along with my students, we went there. Like there was a physically handicapped children. They had a games,
Mm.
children and other. So we went there and did first aid for them. And
Oh,
opportunity for us to go and do the roads. So we were living in the village and we were, doing manual work. So that showed how much difficult, the value of the roads or planting the trees. So we were doing all kinds of, that kind of social activities.
you were literally working on laying a road?
Yeah. With
Oh
the,
my goodness.
yeah, it was like carrying the mud and putting there. So it was like a laborer, on that. It was amazing experience.
I can see why you mentioned transportation so much. Wow, that's powerful. I'm impressed.
Yeah, even my students, even today, afterwards, we all were, going there and cooking food. We were living one of the house in the village. We were doing our own cooking and
Mhm.
watching movies together. As a faculty, like in India, as an instructor, it's a different role. Usually the instructors are a little strict. They won't be very friendly. In the
Yeah.
classroom, I was very strict. Follow the rules, all that kind of things. But when it comes outside, I was very friendly. So we were, talking and playing, do all kinds of, fun activities.
Fun.
Even today, after 40 years, my students, tell me, you remember that day we watched 5 movies sitting and watched. So we have a lot of stories to connect and enjoy. So that was a golden period in my life. I feel so proud, so energetic, and so empowering people. The dignity of labor, the value of other people. Their profession,
Mhm.
hard work,
Yeah.
working in the community. That's the reason, if I see anybody in the community, if they're making any, like, lawn mowing or maybe solar panels or construction, I tell them like, hey, I want to make some food and give to you. Will that be okay? So I carry food and give to them. Anybody in the community or
I
any
like that.
construction, I do that.
Yeah. As a young person, I did different jobs as I was working through school, and I worked a punch press in a factory, not for a long time, a few weeks, and I did waitressing, and those jobs are hard. I mean, those jobs are really hard. So I have a lot of respect for all kinds of work. Questions from Gail. What would you like to see for the future of mental health?
Future, yeah, it need to be, it's developing a little bit, but not at the level what is required, what is needed. And it's everybody's responsibility to work on their own. I was talking to my husband and he was telling like, if you have a physical, like, if you have any injury, you go and like first aid box, you take it and put a band-aid or anything. If something happens to you, we're not doing the same mental health, aspect.
Right.
So we are training mental health first aid. So he tells it's not only for others, you have to take care of yourself also. Like how you're able to do bandage and other things when you're able to apply, like if you feel you're mentally depressed or something, you have to seek support and get those things.
That's right.
And
Mental health first aid. I highly recommend it.
yes, and
All right.
we need to have, I think everybody has to be trained, should work and get the training in the
Mhm.
before they go to med-surg or any other places, or maybe during their part of experience, at least few years they have to work. Then they give more value. I'm thinking very revolutionary. We talk about only specialty like meds, like cardiothoracic or that kind, but mental health aspect, people need to be trained.
Right, right. Especially for people who work in the library or in the public parks, um, yeah, where you get people who don't have structure for their time and they need a place to be, you get a lot of mental health interactions in those spaces, I've noticed. Another question from Gail. What have your students taught you about mental health? That's an interesting question, Gail.
Yeah. The value for it. But if I ask, like, how many people want to take up this career? Hardly one or two.
How many want to, what was the question?
How many, if I ask, like, how many people want to take up the career in mental health? Psychiatric mental health nurses, or maybe, hardly one or two people. So, it needs more, effort.
Right.
So I feel I'm trying to encourage people to be role model, to take up. So maybe if you are inspired and come up.
Yeah.
But a lot is needed, and people need to focus on mental health. Definitely, it's increasing. The awareness is increasing. The care is increasing, and in our in our nursing department, we started we call it a self-help group of the students, peer support group. We started, so we want to continue that aspect. Likewise,
that's fabulous.
Schools, everywhere. Should be there.
Absolutely, everyone needs a group where you can just go and share without judgment what your fears and concerns are.
Yeah.
I love that. I also really support what you were saying about encouraging and supporting young folks to choose mental health professions. I would love, and this is me speaking, Peg Morrison, I'm not speaking officially for NAMI right now. I would love to see public policy that encourages all young people, but especially Black, Indigenous, and persons of color to consider careers in mental health, because we just don't have enough professionals to meet the demand. And you've got folks waiting weeks and months to get their first appointment. It's very hard to find someone who looks like me if I'm a minority. So yeah, absolutely. I would love to see policy supporting that.
Yeah. So there are, some scholarships are there, fellowships are there. Government and other agencies are they're aware of it. They're increasing, but it's not enough. Like,
yeah,
90% is for the other aspects. So, as I said, mind and body is equal. Like 50% should be there. Then only it can balance.
Exactly. I couldn't agree with you more. I'm going to make some quick announcements. We've got a little lull in the questions. Next week, please come back and join us. I will be on vacation. My boss, Executive Director Gary Kreitz, will be interviewing Anita Daniels about athletes' mental health, sports psychology. She is the president and CEO of Actualities Limited, a clinical practice offering behavioral health, wellness, sports counseling, consulting, and addiction treatment. She's also the founding member of the Alliance of Social Workers in Sports. There's so much that goes into psychology with sports. What does it teach a young person to be in athletics? How do they manage the pressure and the stress? So many different angles to consider. I hope you'll be here next week. Also, please fill out our survey when you leave the Zoom session. If you're on Zoom, a survey will magically appear. Please let us know what you think about the show. It helps us show our funders what we do. It helps us improve over time, and we'd love to see your thoughts there. Do you have any closing thoughts that you'd like to share with us, Dr. Sujaya?
I want to thank NAMI and all the audience for giving me this opportunity to, speak up from my heart and my experience.
All right.
Thank you so much. I'm really grateful for this life. Regarding the hope, it's such a wonderful, the word is such a wonderful one. Hope is very much needed for everyone. Hope for the better. So when you talk about uncertainty and other things, yes, there is uncertainty that has brought up a lot of, like innovation. Like due to COVID, we learned like how to do more Zoom sessions. Now we're not afraid of, conducting any of those things. And many
And-
people learned how to cook,
That's true.
during COVID time. And we learned how to make different dishes and, how to share. Lot of innovative things comes with the uncertainty and some of those things. When we have the problem with the gas, we are finding out other sources of energy, like solar energy and other energies. Or we think like, is it needed to go? Like why you want to travel, or why you want to have the go out? Whether you can combine things, whether you can save gas. We are thinking innovative way and changing our behavior.
Mm-hmm.
I see always the positivity from any place, anything, any circumstances.
Well, that definitely comes through in your comments and in your work with people. So again, thank you for being here with us tonight and sharing your photos and your stories and your expertise. It's always wonderful to spend time with you. And for those of you who are with us tonight on Facebook or on Zoom, thank you so much for being part of our conversation. And if you're feeling alone, if you're feeling like you could use some words of encouragement, please reach out to us. Our helpline, our support groups, all of these programs are free and we would love to see you there. So thanks everyone. Have a wonderful weekend.
Just I want to give one comment. This month is Suicide Prevention Month. So everybody has to, take the pledge on suicide prevention and share the resources and, support the community. Yeah, that's my final word.
I love it. Suicide Prevention Month. So if you can be there for someone, please listen, be there. If you need help, please reach out to us. We've been there at NAMI. Find someone you trust and they will help you. Sometimes it takes a little bit of effort, but we would love to be part of the solution for you. All right. So this is my closing 2.0. Thanks everyone. Have a wonderful night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.